It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
U.S. Cellular is here to help you spread some holiday cheer. This is David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast, and U.S. Cellular wants to help everyone get the gift of connection this holiday season. Already a customer? This applies to you too, because right now, new and current customers can get any phone, and I mean any phone, for free. Yes, really, for free. Sounds like it's time to make the switch. Spread holiday cheer far and wide this season with a new phone. Everyone can get the gift of connection at U.S. Cellular. Get any phone free today. U.S. Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com for details.
Mondays are always a busy day for any fantasy hockey GM. That's why you're tapped into your source for fantasy hockey news, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Taking a look on today's episode, all of the top fantasy waiver wire targets that you need to be considering, injury updates for Boone Jenner, Monday's big time bets. Thank you for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? And thank you so much for joining us for the Monday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code Locked On NHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Guys, riding solo today. Steele's on the IR. He'll be back tomorrow. We're here all week, Monday through Friday, trying to break down all of the fantasy hockey news, NHL news, anything that happens that could impact your fantasy squad. We're trying to bring it to you every single day, Monday through Friday. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. If you're out there, Spotify, Apple, we appreciate all the feedback, the comments, for real. It keeps me fired up. It keeps me engaged with you guys. Thank you so much for all that you guys do and to show us that love every single day, for real. Today's episode, Boone Jenner. I got to show this guy some love as a true fantasy darling over the last couple of years. He goes down with a busted jaw. Another good season already underway for Boone Jenner. Got to talk about that very quickly. And, of course, the meat and potatoes of any Monday episode, as I alluded to off the top. Waiver wire targets. There's a bunch of different angles I'm going to look at. I'm going to keep today short and sweet so that you can get back to these holiday plans. Monday's bets, of course. 4 games on tap. I love my bets tonight, so I hope you stay tuned for the whole episode. Right off the jump, Boone Jenner, 6 weeks. He's going to be out. Busted jaw. This is one of those injuries that obviously it's unfortunate. Fantasy GMs are going to have to scramble. I have a bunch of center or forward targets that could potentially fill in over the next couple of weeks. You might have to get creative here week to week, because as much as we know the Columbus Blue Jackets have had their struggles, there's also quite a bit to like of what's going on up in the mix in Columbus. A lot of good young Russian talent as well. Ken Johnson doing things. Adam Fantilli. It's going to take some time. There's obviously been issues with Patrick Laine and Johnny Gaudreau, which has dominated the headlines. But there is some value to be had here. And I'm going to talk about the opportunity for Justin Danforth, who's going to slot in right now at least and fill in for Boone Jenner. But in terms of Boone Jenner, hats off to a guy, good Oshawa General. By the way, that's a bit of a theme today because we're going to talk about another Oshawa General in a few minutes for waiver wire targets. He just has been seemingly getting it done. He's been dealt a few injury hands, but he gets it done. Hits, even chips in with blocked shots, penalty minutes. Yeah, of course, plus minus if you look at that number, which in a lot of cat leagues, head-to-head, it's there. He plays on the Columbus Blue Jackets, so obviously the plus minus has not been there. But even this year, again, off to a pretty good start. 13 goals, 5 assists, 81 shots, pretty good start. Actually, rethinking this, off to a really good start considering all of the inconsistencies, drama with this Columbus Blue Jackets team. This is the leader for this club on and off the ice, and he is very fantasy relevant. I've actually had him on my keeper dynasty team for the past couple of years. Aside from being a little bit banged up over the last couple of years, 68 games last year, 59 the year before, he puts it up across the board. And the fact that he has been, I know he's basically been their number one center, top line center, playing with Patrick Laine lately, Johnny Gaudreau. He's been getting it done on a bad team. So the fact that he does still put up these consistent numbers across the board, fantasy darling, pretty durable. You love this kind of player. Rugged, high motor, energy, lot to love about Boone Jenner. And the fact that he goes down with a busted jaw, obviously not a huge impact on what's going to happen for this Columbus Blue Jackets team, who have been, I know they've won a few more games of late. They're at the bottom of the division. They're almost at the bottom of the conference. They're rebuilding. I do, however, before I round out this point on Boone Jenner, I do like some of those names that I just mentioned. Marchenko, obviously Fantilli. Not yet, perhaps, in terms of them really exploding, but it's close. Even Voronkov, we've talked a little bit about. This is one of those situations that because the team is struggling, perhaps not a lot of GMs are going to take a deep look at the Columbus Blue Jackets, but perhaps you should. That's why, obviously, we're talking a little bit about Boone Jenner. Busted jaw, 6 weeks. You're going to have to replace him. Perhaps let's talk first of all then about Justin Danforth, because right now, in terms of filling in, Justin Danforth at 30 years old, an Oshawa native, and we're not done talking about Oshawa as well. Holy, this is the Oshawa episode. Shout out to the Schwig. 6 goals, 6 assists this year, 33 shots on net. He's a bit of a banger league beauty as well. 43 hits, 25 blocked shots, 33 shots on net. Of course, he's not exactly an offensive dynamo, but right now he's going to get the immediate chance to fill in for Boone Jenner on that top line. He's going to play along up the middle with Patrick Laine and Johnny Gaudreau. Will it stick? Who knows? But right now, Justin Danforth, day to day, right now, I'm definitely going to take a look at them because, sure, Columbus is where they are. We don't need to break that down. Over their last 10, 4, 5, and 1, it's a good situation with Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine for a guy like Justin Danforth who already chipped in with the peripherals. I'm willing to take a risk on it. He's going to be out there in all those leagues. I don't have his percentage up right now, but he's going to be out there. So go out there and take a shot, especially just on this week-to-week basis. It's 6 weeks for Boone Jenner. Let's see what Justin Danforth can do. We're going to see what I can do solo on the rest of today's episode right around the break. The rest of my top favorite waiver wire targets. And, of course, big-time bets for Monday's 4-game board. Been a pretty good couple of weeks for your boy. Let's try and keep it going. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for right away. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your parts are guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, baby, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Hey everyone, Chris from Locked On Avalanche here. If you like using debit over credit, I just learned about something that's definitely a game changer. Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cash back on everyday purchases, which means you can get cash back on NHL tickets or head-to-toe hockey gear to make this season a total win. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Guys, thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. It means so much to both Steele and I that you're tapped in, making us your first listen. Don't forget, Locked On launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today has you covered 24/7 with all the top stories from around the world of sports. Local experts, Locked On, plus national shows covering every single league. Go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and smash that subscribe button. I'm going to break this down super quick because the next 2 weeks, I've said it at length, in the lead up to the holiday break is a very dicey time for not only bets, which we're going to get to, but for these teams navigating their rosters. GMs know what they're working with. Fantasy GMs have to stay on the bubble. They can't be complacent. That's for real. Honestly, you have to keep your eyes peeled on every single decent situation. That's why I brought up Justin Danforth. Is he going to stick? Who knows? Right now, he's going to get the run out in replace of Boone Jenner. We've covered that. Let's go to Nick Schmaltz, my first waiver wire target this week. Nick Schmaltz is owned at 34% on Yahoo, 40% on ESPN. On ESPN, just in the last 6 days, that's up 12%. Arizona, 4 games this week. Buffalo twice, San Jose, and Pittsburgh. I'm absolutely loving that matchup for them. 4 games as well is juicy. The competition is also juicy. And let's show some love to this Arizona Coyotes team as I take a quick sip of water here, not beer. Thank you very much. Arizona sitting in 4th, 28 points, 13, 11, and 2. This is one of those teams that after a number of years of losing, I don't want to get into the arena situation, which I think is a whole joke. They have a lot of good, interesting fantasy hockey pieces. As I alluded to before, don't be afraid to look at teams that you didn't think were good. Now the Arizona Coyotes are actually good. Dig into the trenches, do your research. 9 goals, 11 assists for Nick Schmaltz, 57 shots on net. He is the number 1 center in Arizona. This team also, again, speaking of numbers, let me find my power play list. The Arizona Coyotes are 7th best power play unit in the league. Nick Schmaltz being obviously a part of that on the top power play unit. I mentioned the deployment this week in terms of the games. I mentioned his percentages owned. Nick Schmaltz, take a look, most definitely. On to my second favorite pick. Ooh, I almost forgot about the graphics, guys. If you're not out on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Drop that 5-star review. We really, really appreciate it. This show is about helping you guys. So let us know what you think, what you need to see. We're here for you. Nick Schmaltz, that was number 1. Anthony Cirelli is only owned at 3% on Yahoo and on ESPN. And I know that might not be a name that jumps off the page for anybody, especially when, 3 games this week, though. They are on the Western swing for the Lightning, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. Those are teams that I know Vancouver right now, probably the best out of those 3. I think that's a pretty advantageous situation for all 3 games for a Lightning squad that has struggled this year. But let's not ever count them out, not once. 4-5-1 over their last 10, the Lightning. I'm taking a look at Anthony Cirelli. Not only is he being deployed on the second power play unit, not only is he playing very well over the last 4 games, 4 goals, 2 assists, ice time is up. He doesn't have the greatest peripheral value, but 20 penalty minutes, I don't hate. 51 shots on net, I don't hate. Playing on a good team, I definitely don't hate. And then you factor in that Tampa does have that pretty good schedule, and he's out there. If you're looking for a day-to-day fill-in, I have a feeling Anthony Cirelli continues to play well. He's looked really good. Run back a little bit of the tape over the last couple of days. Again, Oshawa General Product. That's the 3rd shout-out to the Schwa. I swear I'm going to stop with that because I'm pretty sure I'll bring it up, but Evan Rodrigues, I don't think has any ties to Oshawa, although he is from Toronto. And that will be the player that I talk about right after I come back from the break. And I'm going to include talking about my last waiver wire target with big time bets, of course. You know we're trying to keep that money train running. Been a pretty good couple of weeks. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Your favorite team could host the Stanley Cup. Your favorite player could pop 50, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is Steele and I's favorite number 1 choice for daily fantasy sports, especially, and of course, daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can bank 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you got to do is pick whether studs like McKinnon, Crosby, Ovi, or others will record more or less than Sleeper's projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus in any given game. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and location availability.
Joe DiBiase of the Locked On Sabres podcast. ButcherBox has all you need for a tasty, stress-free holiday season with high-quality protein delivered to your door. Sometimes the best gifts are the ones you give yourself, and ButcherBox is here to help you treat yourself to more delicious, wholesome meals. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/NHL and use the code NHL to get free chicken wings for a year. That's 3 pounds of free-range organic chicken wings free in every order for a year when you sign up at butcherbox.com/NHL and use the code NHL.
My friends, the NHL season rolls on. So does your fantasy hockey season. The work never stops. I mentioned Evan Rodrigues last week, and I'm going to mention him once again, not only because he's been feeling it, not only because I have him on my own team and I'm going to stand by him, but the Florida Panthers are playing good hockey right now, and they have the Seattle Kraken, Edmonton Oilers, and Vancouver Canucks this week. He's 61% on Yahoo. Here is one of those situations where I don't understand the differential between Yahoo and ESPN, because he's only 21% on ESPN. That's up 10% in the last week, and for obvious reasons. Evan Rodrigues has been one of those players that he's bumped around a little bit, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Colorado, but he seemingly goes on streaks, and he can obviously get it done over the last couple of years, proving that pretty good seasons, 43 points, 39 points. Right now, 21 points, and in his last 4 games, he has 3 goals and 5 assists. You've got to be taking a look at this guy. Unfortunately, right now, he's been bumped down to the third line, but he is so versatile, and he has been playing on the top line. Either way, he's in the mix on both power play units. Again, he gets shuffled around so much. The Florida Panthers are clearly proving that the last year's run to the Cup was no fluke. Evan Rodrigues is in the mix, constantly in the top 6, even if right now it's looking like, if you check out Daily Faceoff, he's on the third line. I think he'll be back up in the top 6 in no time. Ice time is also pretty solid at over 16 minutes a night, 10 penalty minutes, 66 shots on net. I think the ability for Rodrigues to go up and down the lineup and still produce is probably my favorite aspect of his game. Either way, I'd be looking at him this week, most definitely. Monday night bets, my friend. Again, thank you so much for joining us on a solo episode. Monday of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We are part of the Locked On Network, your team every single day. Shout out to all of our listeners and supporters. Let me break down this Monday night betting board. And before I do, got to bring up the record. So far this year, 90, 66-0 on the overall record. Locks of the night, 29-16. Headed into Monday, first pick. I got to be going with the under in this Toronto-New York Islanders game. There's only 4 games on the board, and sometimes that can be good. Sometimes it can be bad. Take it as you will. 6 of the last 10 meetings head-to-head between the Islanders and Leafs have gone under the number. And aside from that, Ilya Samsonov on Saturday, it was the Nashville Predators. And I get that the Toronto Maple Leafs probably put up one of their best all-around performances, especially on the back end, maybe to insulate Samsonov, to bring him back in a nice, maybe ease him in way. 6-3-1 Toronto is against the Nashville Predators. I'm looking at this spot, though, for the under. I think this one's going to stay under the number. Obviously, on the one side of the coin, you have arguably the best goalie in the league in Ilya Sorokin. On the other side, another Russian Ilya in Samsonov, who has the opportunity right now. He was on my honorable mentions for the waiver wire. It's 4 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs this week, so perhaps both him and Martin Jones might be worth a look. I haven't seen nearly enough from either. Samsonov obviously not playing. Martin Jones obviously being in the AHL, but that is the Toronto goaltending situation, was an honorable mention. See, this is where I really miss Steele, because he'd probably remind me of these things. But I did want to honorable mention the Toronto Maple Leafs goaltending situation on the waiver wire side of things, because that's obviously a situation to watch. I'll stop rambling now. Toronto at New York. Give me the under 6.5. That's my first pick of the night. And I'll stay right here, actually. Austin Matthews on Saturday finally got it going after a week that he was pretty quiet. You know, he scored 2 against Boston, absolutely nothing against Ottawa, and then bang, 2 goals. I think he's going to pop off. It's a bit of a gut feeling. You dig into the numbers head-to-head against the Islanders in his career. 16 regular season games for Matthews, 9 goals, 5 assists. I think he keeps it going. Monday night on Long Island against Sorokin might be a bad spot to be backing an anytime goal scorer, but why not Poppy? 18 goals, 9 assists on the year, 97 shots on net. I'm feeling pretty good about this one. He is also at times, he tends to explode. He can go hot and cold, but we're going with the hot side in this one. My lock of the night. The Detroit Red Wings have had a lot of positive energy going their way of late, of course, and winning some games. But they've also brought in a lot of new faces. And Patrick Kane, as much as it's exciting, as much as he clearly, you know, he scored a really nice goal on Saturday, he's very fired up. He can still bring it. There's something to be said about a team getting comfortable with all the new players in the mix. And he is a big personality, one that is also going to take time to get in the mix. So what I'm trying to get at here, they did lose that game on Saturday to Ottawa pretty soundly. You look at the head-to-head numbers with Dallas and Detroit over the last 10, 8-2-0, the Dallas Stars are against the Detroit Red Wings. I'm feeling very comfortable in this spot. How about this one? The Red Wings 0-10 in their last 10 trips to Big D, which is why the Stars on the money line is my lock of the night. Going to try and keep this money train rolling. I hope Dylan Larkin is okay. That was another scary situation for a guy who's already obviously been through the ringer. I hope today's episode has brought a little bit of fantasy and betting value to everyone out there listening. Shout out for tuning in for the Monday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Make sure you keep it tapped to Locked On. Just launched that first ever National Sports 24 streaming channel on YouTube. Go check that out. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be here all week for the rest of all of your fantasy hockey needs. Good luck with your week and all of your bets.
Buying tickets to see your favorite NHL team shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
My son had a gift with technology. With reliable internet at home through the Internet Essentials program, the world opened up. He's part of this next generation of young people who feel they can thrive.
Through Project UP, Comcast is committing $1 billion to help open doors for the next generation with the connectivity and skills they need to build a future of unlimited possibilities.
The Monday edition of Locked On NHL is a must-listen. Every Monday on Locked On NHL, host Gil Martin takes you to the 3 biggest NHL stories from the weekend's games with the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. No national fluff. You get the real story from the Locked On experts who are with the team every day. Put it on your calendar every Monday on Locked On NHL. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.